Good. Welcome everybody to Faith Family Friends. Got my BFF on. This is Sniblet and Giblet Show. I just got to give everybody. So what the heck is
Sniblet Giblet?
This was the name our fathers gave each other, and we decided to carry on the tradition a few years ago. They're gone to be with the Lord, both of them, Ronnie Dennison and Ralph Ackley Sr. So we call ourselves Sniblet and Giblet. But it's great to have Wendell Dennison on. DOS to many people. Sorry, folks, but not sorry. God knew it was for tonight. I really believe the devil tried to fight it. I do. We don't want to give him too much credit for the things that happened, but you were under the weather, DOS. Seriously, right?
Yeah, I had it was right in my chest.
Yep.
Like 15 days of it. Just and the more I taught, the hoarser I'd get.
Yep.
So it left, started subsiding this weekend. So I was able to preach on Sunday.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah. So I'm ready.
Good. You're ready for Obey. So we left off last time. DOS had shared, and some of you just first-time listeners or viewers, if you want to go back, it is on YouTube. Part one of this interview with Pastor DOS from Machiasport, Maine. He passed Machiasport. He and Donna bought a house a little while ago in Machias, which is a miracle and a story in and of itself. But the last time he was where they shared about how he grew up in faith with his mother and father and his siblings going to church, get away from the Lord, lots of stuff happening. I'll let him kind of, if he wants to summarize a little bit of that and bring us back to where he's comatose as a young adult. Well, I don't know, the young adult, middle age, and really at the brink of death. So go ahead, take it away, brother.
Yeah. So we talked last time, just a quick recap. Again, grew up in a Baptist church, serving God, head of the river, little small coastal community town in Cutler. Walked away from God my teenage years, but I was just before my 21st birthday I came back to the Lord in a Pentecostal church and gave it all I had and went up through the ranks all the way to youth president for the state of Maine, ran youth camps and youth conventions, and then I pastored a church in Waterville, grew that went from 0 to 160 real fast, about 8 years, combined it with another church across town. We were running pretty close to 400 people. At the time I got really sick. And so I think that's where we ended up last time, is I'd gotten sick, and I had actually stepped out of the ministry, tried a stint in Texas. It lasted about 3 months, came back home, tail between my legs, just feeling like a fish out of water. And I opted for this surgery in Boston. I had UC, ulcerative colitis, and it was, the doctor said, one of the worst cases they'd seen. I opted for the surgery where they removed my entire colon, and yet did not have to wear an ostomy bag. But I was going to have to wear one for 3 months while I healed. But so I can't remember exactly where I left off, but I went for the surgery. I came home from the surgery and realized that that my small intestine, which is all I have left, they removed my entire large intestine, but my small intestine had ruptured, and I still had an open wound. And not to be, too graphic, but I had an open wound there, and it was just not pretty. And so I was rushed to Boston, went into emergency surgery. And when I went into the surgery, I weighed 200 pounds. And the next morning I weighed 240. There was just strings, they said, of those bags. They were flushing me out.
Yeah.
And I went into a coma, and I was in a coma for 4 days. And this is the part of the story that where Rich Brink comes to mind. But I was not doing good. And the doctors had told my family that I had a 1 in 5 chances of coming through. So I had a 4 or 5 chances of not coming through.
Yeah.
And I was in my 4th day of that coma. And I pastored in Waterville in Oakland, Maine. A friend of mine pastored the church. His name was Rich Brink, friend of yours.
Yep.
And he told some parishioners on a Sunday night, he said, I think I'm going to go down and see Doss tomorrow. And they told him, they said, if you want to see him, you might want to go tonight, because there's a good chance he might not be here tomorrow.
Wow.
And so he left Oakland, Maine, headed for Boston on a Sunday night after church. It was late.
Yeah.
And driving all by himself. And he told me, he said he prayed for me the entire way down.
Yeah.
And, he got to, I think it's Saugus on Route 1, when you're coming in to the city before you hit Boston, you can actually see the skyline of the city. And he was praying, and he said he saw a shooting star. And he felt the Holy Spirit come all over him. And he quoted that Bible verse, I saw Satan fall from heaven as lightning. And he began to,
declare.
He began to pray.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so he was just, minutes outside of Boston. And when he got to the hospital, I was just come out of my coma. And I think you could almost probably pinpoint the time to that shooting star in his prayer, because I had just moments before had come out. And it was all I remember about it. People say they go into have these near-death experiences, and they see light, and they're about. I don't have any of those stories to tell. The only story I can tell is coming out of the coma, I could see more people in the room than what was actually there. And so I want to believe it was angels that I saw. Some people might say, well, you was on morphine at the time, but God knows.
God knows.
God knows. And so miraculously, I made it back. Next part of the story gets difficult for me, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but again, I was out of the ministry, experiencing, terrible health conditions. I had my wound wouldn't heal up, and I had to go on this thing called TPN, and they brought me home with a pump, and I would intravenous. I had a PICC line that went into my arm up to my main artery at my heart, and they deliver these bags of nutrition to my house, and that I couldn't eat any food by mouth for 8 months, and I would have to plug one of these bags in, go to sleep at night to the sound of that pump as it fed me. And I was home from the hospital for a week, and my ex left me, and I don't want to actually go into that at all. I just don't feel like I want to do that, but I just want to say I was totally devastated. It pulled the rug right out from under me. I was not doing well, spiritually, physically, the whole 9 yards. And I've got 4 children. It was my youngest daughter was in 8th grade, and she stayed with me. And I look back on it, and I can see where that could even be hard on her. She had to play nursemaid to a dad that really wasn't doing very well at all. And I had critical care nurses come into the house and twice a week. And I went septic a couple of times because it's hard to keep 8 months. It's hard to keep all those lines absolutely 1000% clean. And I remember one time I spiked a fever of 100. It actually went to 107.
Wow.
And laying in a hospital bed, and I went in. I spiked about 105. Went into the hospital. They kept me overnight. The next morning, I went into shivers so bad. I was shaking the whole bed that I was lying on.
Wow.
I was begging people to lay on top of me. I was so cold. I felt like I was in Antarctica, with barely any clothes on. And it was because this fever spiked so high. And, I think, somewhere around 107, you should be brain dead. So I have an excuse.
You're looking for one. You got one now.
I have one now.
No, when you look back at that, do you think that maybe the devil was so mad at that he had lost you from your, going away from the Lord, and that you had recently come back? Or is maybe a mix of things? Because,
Yeah, Ralph, that was a really difficult part of my life, even difficult to talk about.
Sure.
And I'm going to be real honest. And it was that time in my life where I felt spiritually like I was hanging by a thread. And I usually tell people that thread was church, like going to church somewhere. I would pick myself up by the bootstraps and drag myself to a church. And because I knew if I cut that last lifeline, I wasn't going to make it. And but oddly enough, I had during that season, I kept getting these prophecies said over me. I mean, I wasn't looking for them. I'd be in the weirdest places. I'd be in Florida at this huge revival. I happened to be down there because I had a daughter graduating from college. And I got singled out of the crowd and told that my future was going to be greater than my past. Wow. And I was like, back then it was just words, because I had done some pretty awesome things and I was on the bottom, and I was like, I can't see it with my spiritual eyes, but okay, I receive it. But I went out to California, and somebody read my mail out there, and it seemed, and it happened even like just shortly before you left for Virginia. It happened in your church where somebody, would come through our little small church there, and somebody prophesied, said your future is greater than your past. And I went out, and my wife started hearing it. We went out. I didn't think I brought you up to speed of getting remarried, but so let me do that. I was hanging by a thread for probably 7 or 8 years, just not doing well. And then I met my wife, Donna, and, God, it's been God with her ever since. It was the first time we talked, we were married within 3 months of our first conversation. And she's a godsend, and it's been a miracle walk for the both of us. And so anyway, she began to hear these same prophecies, like your future is greater than your past. And so I don't know what all that means. I know that I love God, and I'm like you. I don't want to play church. I don't want to go through the motions. There's something inside of me that's hungry and thirsty for genuine, authentic Christianity, grassroots revival. and I was just saying to someone the other day, I believe there's a third great awakening coming to America. I do, but I don't believe it's going to be packaged neatly. No. I don't think it's going to be wrapped up beautifully and set inside a building with a steeple. I think it's going to be on the streets. And in the churches that get it, churches that get it will be hospitals to help take care of all the birthing that's taking place.
Good.
But
wow. Yeah.
But it's coming. I just watched before you brought me on air the trailer for season 3 of The Chosen.
Oh yeah,
my wife watched it. Yeah. It's out now. Yeah. My wife watched it yesterday, so I just watched it today, and I'm excited to see that. Because I feel like that's where it's at.
That's an out of the box thing.
It's out of the box. Yeah. It's authentic. It's raw, and we're not gonna package this thing. This thing is way bigger than us.
We ruined it so many times, but because we try to package it in the form of a denomination, in the form of an organization, when we said we weren't going to do that, the early Pentecostal movement in the 1900s, it wasn't just the Assemblies of God, but many Pentecostal churches were dead set up against forming their organizations that they ended up doing. And now we're hearkening back to that past and we're venerating our past more than we are living out our present in the Lord. Can you share a little bit about how? Because I remember when you're there by the call of God in Washington County, but I think at first you probably were looking outside. You wanted to travel. You wanted to get where more people are. But now God has worked on your heart, and I think it's interesting. It's an organic kind of thing. You never probably would have done that, except I think
I would have.
God's in this.
I would have never chosen Washington County to come back to.
No.
I grew up here, and this is a genuine mission field. Yes, it really is. This is there are people here that are very set in their ways, and the good quote for Down East is, "I'm good. Yeah, I got it."
Boy, that ain't true. I heard it. I heard it knocking on doors like, I'm
I'm good. I could picture even my mother and my grandmother. One would take the other one to the store or something, and they're trying to shove $5 into the other one's. It's like nobody. You don't want anybody to owe you anything. It's I'm good. I take care of me. And that's not church.
That's right.
We got to break that.
We need to make both you and I a rejoinder to those listening. We can say this because we are genuinely down.
Oh, I'm a Down Easter.
We love the people there. So we say that.
And God brought me back here.
Yes, that's right.
He brought me back here. I wouldn't have chosen, but He did. When I came back, I was still broken, even when I got married. But I was quickly being fixed by God. Dawn and I started going to church immediately. I was anxious to get back. I didn't care if I parked cars. I didn't care if but I wanted to help. I wanted my hands in the helping make the pie. I wanted to get dirty again. And so I ended up at your place. Yes. And thank God. And you extended that right hand of fellowship to me. You did what probably nobody else would have done at that time. You let me let me share your pulpit.
Well, Doss, I didn't anticipate this, but I don't think I've ever thanked you because you came at a time we really needed your story about, and I don't want to go into all that.
Yeah.
The whole denominational piece.
Yeah.
We're struggling with. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
And there are people who know what we went through, and your struggle is so similar. It really was a God thing that you came at the time you did. And then you have found a place for us and sent us to Virginia.
And then, and it was funny because I was probably one that, Donna and I became not only parishioners, but good friends with you and Amy.
Yes.
And I probably was one, and people probably look at me oddly, but I was probably one that encouraged you. But I did feel like God was resetting some things. I've always felt like you'll be back.
Yes.
But I was probably one that helped encourage you to go for the reset. Yeah. And I believe it's been a positive and a good thing. But when you left, of course I'd been speaking in your church for a while because you were gracious enough to have me, but I didn't feel called to the river. I mean, it wasn't like in the past. It was more of a, well, somebody's got to do it. I'll step up to the plate and I'll hold it together until God says to do otherwise. And so we met in my living room, just a handful of us, and met in my living room, Ralph, I think for 5 years.
Was it that long?
4 years anyway.
4 years, yeah.
Maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Have to look at my wife once in a while and get the get the lowdown. But we met in our living room with that small group, and we weren't real evangelistic. We'd had a few people come in and visit with us, but we were faithful. Yeah. We stayed true, and I prepared a message every Sunday like I was preaching to 400.
Yes.
And it was just we were sitting around in the recliners and couch, and but so to end that whole story, while we're doing that, I kept getting stronger spiritually. I felt like there was going to be another chapter.
Yeah.
And we were looking for a place to go. Tried out for actually several places, and the door was closed. I didn't understand it, but God did.
Yes.
And so I had put it on Facebook, and I got one other thing I want to talk about before I'm done. But I put it on Facebook that we were looking for a church, if anybody knew of one in Down East Maine that needed some help, or and lo and behold, the Congregational Church of Machiasport reached out. It was actually Pastor Koa, and said, "You want to talk?" And I went to his house, and we sat down for probably an hour, maybe, and we decided, hey, let's try it on Sunday. We got nothing to lose.
Right.
And that very first Sunday we got together, had a good little crowd. And when he reached out to me, he was down to him and his wife Kathy, and one other couple. Wow. And they were seriously close to closing the doors there. And he probably felt like, why not? I felt like, why not? And we have been doing well. We've had as many as 54 in attendance. Probably running 30, probably a good average on a weekly basis. Right. And the good thing is new people coming every week, and people that this isn't like people from across town from the other church trying to come to visit.
Yeah.
This is unchurched people coming in, and we're seeing growth. And I don't know if that's the end of the journey, Ralph. I really don't. I feel like there might be another chapter left yet. But right now, that's where God has us. And so if you're out there listening and you want a place to go Sunday morning,
there you go.
Machiasport Congregational Church.
You do your once a month movies? And
we do that every other week on a Wednesday night. We show them a Christian movie, and I've got 10 to 15 teenagers coming to see that. This week we're showing, matter of fact, tomorrow night we're showing Left Behind. We're going to show the version with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, we've shown The War Room. Yeah. We've shown I Can Only Imagine. I Still Believe. Yeah. We started out by showing The Chosen, and we want to get back to The Chosen. Yeah. In the meantime, we're showing.
Can I suggest one to you?
Yes, please do.
Why I'm doing this is to help promote their ministry. A couple friends of ours from North Pines Church, we went here when we first got here before we got this church to pastor. Caleb and Kyler Cook. they're twins. They have a movie that they put out. After seeing The Chosen, they were just wrecked. This is brothers, twin brothers, who have, one lives here in Kalamazoo, the other in Pennsylvania. And long story short, they just felt like they wanted to do something like what Dallas Jenkins did with The Chosen.
Yep.
So they wrote a script on a shoestring budget. It's called The 10th, and it's available on, I'm not sure, Fathom Events. I'll have to find the link, but it got third place in the International Film and Music Festival in Florida this last spring.
Oh, I'd be real interested.
Their lead actor, Roman Maldonado, who has had spot guest appearances on shows on TV like Blue Bloods.
Okay.
He's an actor. He got first place for acting in the movie. Okay. And it's only 30 minutes long. It's called The 10th. It's a fictional account of a young couple with a baby as the death plague is going over the land of Egypt with Israel there. It is powerfully done. He was at my church. Kyla was this several weeks ago, sharing about it. We took an offering up for the ministry because now they're planning on doing the life of David, much like The Chosen.
Okay.
They've already started the script writing. They've got their actor. They've got David. They've chosen who David is, and Samuel. So look that up. I'll send you.
Send me the information.
Yeah, and if you guys feel led to help them out, or just give them a kudos, because they're great. They're part of what I said to them when we were going to that church. Again, a long story short, but I see this, and you probably see it maybe a little less so, being kind of out of the way in down East Maine. You know what that's like. I do too. Yeah. But I hear about it a bit more around here and see it where God is raising up a younger generation, new generation, that where they have such a sacrificial heart for God, they'll pull up and leave their job and their church to mother another church.
Awesome.
North Pines did that. 40 couples with their kids in tow left Indiana and started a church in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I said, you know, you guys are a fulfillment of what God told me several decades ago when I was praying for our country. God said, I'm going to do a quick work. I'm going to do a quick work with the younger generation. And I see that happening. They're getting things quick. Well, who said our ceiling should be their floor? And I believe that's true.
Amen.
Our ceiling should be the floor. We want to see that happen. So when I see hear somebody get a growth lesson in the Lord, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. You got that so quick. That's so awesome. And there's a place for us old farts too. I understand. Liquid, man, right?
So what the last thing I think I'd like to share has been really, really cool for me the past 2 years. And let me grab my phone real quick.
Perfect. Yeah.
My kids call this Daddy's prayer post device, because they call me and they can't get me. They have to call my wife. You know, I teach school, so the ring is off. But I started this. I just want to briefly share. 3 days before COVID hit, nobody knew anything about COVID. It was a Saturday morning, and I woke up and the Lord impressed me to do a prayer walk. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take that back a little bit because it needs to be said. In 2018, is that when I went to Israel, Donna? 2019, I went to Israel. Yeah. And I was posting my, my adventure, and I was showing pictures. I didn't realize how many people were actually looking at it and following, but I was headed to the Western Wall, where the Jews put their little pieces of paper in the crack. And I said, if anybody wants prayer, if you want me to put a name on that piece of paper before I put it in the wall, send me a message. And my phone blew up. It just my phone went poosh. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I did. I wrote on that little piece of paper, these little names written down. I put the the yarmulke on, and I prayed, and I was that was so cool, and I was like, oh my goodness, the next 2 days from now, I'm going to be walking the Via Dolorosa where Jesus walked with the cross. So I said, anybody that wants prayer while I'm walking the Via Dolorosa, and my phone blew up again.
Wow.
And I come home and I wanted to continue that, but I didn't know how until I woke up on a Saturday morning and God said, do a prayer walk. And I know you did.
Yeah.
You set the groundwork way before I ever got here.
Yeah.
But I got up on that Saturday morning. I went down to Roke's Bluff Beach, and I did a prayer walk with God, and I posted about it. And it's not that I wasn't trying to get an attaboy,
No, right.
oh, you did, but I felt led to do it. And I continued to do it for like the 3 days in a row. And all of a sudden, COVID hit and the world shut down around us. I mean, schools closed, businesses closed. You remember the day. And all of a sudden, this prayer post just took off, and I stayed faithful to it. Today was prayer post number 813 consecutive prayer posts where I've done this with the Lord, and it has changed over time. This past year, it has become Down East Daily Devotional and Prayer Post. I call it D3P2, and it's sounds like R2D2 from Star Wars. But what I've done this year is I started in the book of Matthew, and I took one chapter every day. And right now I'm in the book. I'm just starting Hebrews. Right now. I do one chapter a day. I don't explain the whole chapter. I pull out one nugget that I can find out of that chapter, and I do a small little piece. I don't try to, it's not a 3-page article. It's a small little nugget that I hope would help someone. And then I always add somebody to pray for. And I have been overwhelmingly surprised how many followers it has. People that, there's certain people that every day put, the praying hands and the hearts and let me know they're following. But I'm going to say in the hundreds that are out there that are following, reading this every day. And that I will meet them on the street and I'll say, hey, Doss, I'll say something. They'll say, yeah, I know, I read your prayer post. But so it's been a really cool thing. At the end of this year, I mean, I'll be up to what's around 900.
Yeah, I would think.
So I'd like to put them together in a devotional, like a 1 year devotion. My daughter's going to help me with some things. Like I know you and I are always messing with technology. And we're old guys, and but my daughter's going to help me. I'd like to get the platform a little bit bigger, because I do feel like God blessed my faithfulness to it. And so He's given me the ability to pull these little nuggets out. And if I feel like if I could just help some, even a struggling Christian or somebody that's reading it for the first time or whatever the case may be, I feel like it's my contribution. Amen. And I've held on to it with a bulldog grip. The world can fall down around me, and I'm going to do my prayer post.
I like that with my morning devotion, but 2 verses come to me. If you're faithful to little, God will make you rule over much. And in Revelation, God said to the church at Philadelphia, I give you an open door that no man can shut. So those 2 verses.
That's my message this week. I'm on Philadelphia.
It's great.
Because I've been doing that series of the 7 churches in Asia. And this week here, I'm on Philadelphia. So great. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. We're in the book of Hebrews here at church. We're just doing 1 chapter a week. So we're in chapter 3 when I come back from.
Okay. I'll finish Hebrews probably before you do, because I'm doing a chapter a day. But and Ralph, I will tell you, I've read my Bible through a few times, just like you have. I'm a minister of the gospel, and I've been doing it a while. So I've been through my Bible, but this particular journey through the New Testament has been awesome for me, because first of all, I'm looking for nuggets. You know,
Yeah.
I'm looking for something maybe I hadn't seen before, or you know, a neat little twist on something. And I've slowed it down. You know, I feel like that's what The Chosen did. They took the greatest story that was ever told, instead of trying to condense it into an hour and a half. They slowed it down and made us fall in love with characters and you know, and possibilities. So I feel like that's what God's done with me with the New Testament reading this year. Of course, I, like you, I read other passages during the week as I'm preparing for Sunday. But for my devotion, it's been one chapter a day, and this has been one of my greatest journeys through the New Testament.
Well, I have to say this: I read them every day, but every once in a while, and more frequently than not, actually, you put a nugget of background info that really colors the text. And I think a lot of us appreciate, whether we're Bible scholars or not, and you don't put it in a high fluent way. And I, some stuff, like, even though I've read the Bible for years, like, oh wow, Doss got that, and I appreciate it because it really enriches our understanding of the Word of God. And I think it gets people wanting to study the Word. I'm hoping, and I know that that's your hope too. And that's my hope. That's why God's got us as a church just doing a book study.
And I, you know, and I know you and I, we've had so many talks that we know where each other's coming from. But you know, I believe in that original text in the Hebrew and the Greek, and I try to get something out of that. But I also believe in the context. You know, there are sometimes, you know, that the easy reader's version is okay because it's what you're getting out of that story.
The whole understanding.
You know, I'm not afraid that I feel like I'm not afraid that I'm going to get sidetracked by some, you know, heretical text. I can read different versions and look at things differently and try to get what the Lord really meant. And I know when it comes to doctrine, you know, I want to go back to the original word study. But there's times when I want to know what was the context.
It's almost like the foreground is that, and the background, which isn't the main thing in a painting, helps, but it's just a little. But the foreground is that message, the application, and then God will give us little pieces here and there. I'll especially help aid it. We could go on and on.
Oh, I know. You and I could do this for a long time.
And maybe that's the next step. Who knows what God's going to do? But I want you to pray for those out there who have been inspired and appreciate your testimony. Maybe they don't have the exact thing that's happened to them, but I think if you maybe, and I don't want to speak for you, but the person who's gone away and doesn't think they can come back, or in your second phase is like so wrecked, as you said, hanging by a thread, that there's hope. Because if we see an individual like you, where God is like, man, boy, did God really bring that guy back? Can he do that for me? Yes, he can. The answer is,
As I get ready to pray, I'll say, after we did this last time, I ran into a friend of yours that said, he said, I really appreciated your story. And I didn't really know who he was at the time, but we introduced ourselves to each other. And I don't know if he wants his name said on air, so I'm gonna not say it, but I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But, it put a smile on my face that he's watching and listening to my friend Ralph, and I like that. So I'll pray.
All right, go for it, brother.
Lord,
good time.
I so enjoyed doing this with Ralph, and you know what? I really do hope. I don't know if it's your will or not, but I hope that someday him and I will do more of this together. But I pray, Lord, tonight, it's not so much from Ralph and I, but I pray for those that are out there listening, Lord, that maybe they're struggling in their faith, Lord. Maybe they went through, maybe they walked a really strong walk with you at one point, and something just pulled the rug right up from under them. And I know there are people that come against hard battles, that stay in the battle, But, you know, Lord, the truth be known, there's a lot of people like myself that was in a battle and got beat up pretty bad. And so I think I'm praying, Lord, mostly for those people tonight. They were in a struggle. They got, you know, they got beat up. They felt like they couldn't do it, Lord, not like they used to. But I feel that same prophetic voice that spoke to me all those years. I feel like I'm speaking to someone right now that your future is going to be greater than your past. And you might look at yourself and say, I'm older now, I have gray hair. You know, I'm a shadow of what I used to be. I still feel like if you can receive this, if you can latch hold of it, your future is greater than your past. I believe that's going to help somebody. That's going to help somebody get up and get in the fight like they've never been before. Well, we're racing the clock. You know, not just age-wise, Lord, but you know, this old world's not getting any better out there. That's right. And we're living in a day that you could come any moment. So I pray for any listener out there tonight, Lord, and that could just strengthen themselves and get ready for that one more revival that's going to hit. And don't try to put it in a box. Don't try to put it in a package. Be ready to run with it, just like that first church did. Peter and James and John. Just run with the gospel. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Lord. Amen. Habakkuk 2:1-2 comes to my mind. I will stand on the rampart and wait to see what he will say to me, and I will write the vision down and make it plain. That just came to me. Wow. So much good stuff. We'll be
I love you, man.
Love you, brother.
I love you.
We'll talk to you later.
We'll talk to you real soon. Love you, man.